How is everything?
Good, and you?
Good, thanks. How have you been in this crazy time?
Good question. It is okay to be scared, but not okay to be not scared. And it's a bit a weird situation, I believe, but that's how it is.
Yes, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie. C'est la vie.
Thank you, firstly, for joining us with the Horology Forum 2019 throwbacks, Monsieur Benoît Mintiens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen and I'm going to play to you certain things you've said during your panel last year.
My goodness.
Okay. So, and then I have a question based on that. So I'll play you what you've said, and then I'll ask you my question, and then you go and you answer. Okay?
Go.
So let's go. Okay, allons-y. Okay. Bear with me.
Oh my God. That's how I'm sitting? I wasn't aware.
For example, to agriculture, when you grow the same crops, the same DNA, one bug is enough to get starvation. If you have different types of crops, so different types of watchmaking, if there's one new bug coming in, the digital or the quartz bug coming in, maybe there is some that will survive. And sometimes you see it now also. It's all the same platforms. And the reason is business, of course. It's good money. It's low risk to do the same thing all over again. But yes, you are very vulnerable to external things that you don't see coming.
Okay. All right. So let's consider COVID-19, no pun intended, to be this bug. Based on what I've just played you saying, how do you see the industry trying to save their crops? And do you feel like a crop master of some kind?
What I was saying, because the question is not in your video, but what I was, I don't remember the question that Gary asked, but the fundamental point is that we are moving towards a monocultural business. Monocultural in a sense that it's a bit like the car industry. What the watch industry is doing, the car industry did it 20 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, more 20 years ago. When you look at cars in the streets, they're all the same. They're exactly the same cars. It's just another badge, maybe a bit more leather here and a bit more color there. But the way they are constructed, the way they are produced, the way they are in their factories conceived is basically exactly the same. A wheel of a Ferrari is produced the same way as a Dacia. It's just more fine, there is more refinement, there is maybe another alloy, but the way it's produced is the same. And that's for everything like that. What I say with that is that this industry has been working on costs all for decades. And that's what the watch industry, the big brands, are doing too. They are working on cost reduction. And the best way to do it is to offer a mono type of product and not talk about product anymore, not put energy or spend a lot of research into the products, but spend money and research on marketing, because that's what you need to do. If everyone is producing the same thing, where it's only the badge that is different, well, you need to put a lot of energy and money into marketing, but your production cost is really low. That's why that's, I think, the basics of the question. And the consequence of that is that when there is a bug, when there is a problem, they all have that problem. Whereas if you have a multicultural ecosystem where you have different technologies, different ways of producing, different competing systems, a bit like Apple compared to Microsoft. There are two systems that have their own ecosystems. Well, if one is failing, there's still the other. And if we all do the same, for example, we have the problem with pollution now. Suddenly there was pollution. The cars had to drive electrically. There is no infrastructure. There is nothing because there's never been electric cars. So you can't really put them in the market. So the bug is also, that's also a bug, that there's a mono thing that we all drive fuel cars instead of, if there would have been electric cars already, there were a little bit of electric cars, a little bit of fuel cars, a little bit of something else, I don't know. But no, the industry has concentrated to one type because that's the cheapest. If we all do the same, that thing will be cheap to produce. If we start to do electric cars and fuel cars and hydrogen cars and things, well, we will make less of each type, and so they will cost more to produce. So if we all agree that we will do the same, it's going to be cheaper for us to produce it. And that's a little bit what's happening. Typically, when suddenly a player comes like Apple, the watch industry is panicked because we have no solution for that. There is no alternative. We have nothing. When Tesla is coming with this electric car, the whole industry says, okay, it's not important, we'll see. But then there's pressure coming from politics, from people that say we don't want polluting cars in our cities anymore. Well, things are evolving, but then there is no infrastructure because it's also the alternatives to watches. If we all concentrate on one thing, we become very vulnerable. That was my point with crops. It was the metaphor I used. If we all make monocultural crops, if there is one bug that's specialized in eating that crop, well, you have a big problem, and you have nothing else. It takes time to get these other crops again, when we look at watch industry, it's a bit comparable. If one day people suddenly say we don't believe in mechanical watches anymore for a reason or another, there will be nothing else. All these companies are concentrating manufacture. Well, and then we don't care about manufacture anymore. We want another type of thing around our wrists. We want an Apple Watch. Well, then we die. And that is what happened with the Quartz crisis, because I think the question came from that.
The question, you're right, from the Quartz crisis, it was because Gary had asked and you had said bug was the quartz that occurred, annihilated the mechanical watches. But what I found interesting is when you said that, I thought it would be interesting to see that now that Corona's here, it literally is a bug, but it's also a bug in regards to your metaphor, your crops metaphor, because all production stopped, in the factories and so on, no watches were being produced. So I was curious to know how, if from your perspective, because it was a bit like fortune telling of you to say, because there was no other solution, no other alternatives had been come up. There was just one way, and the watch industry is known to this way. And so I thought that it was very futuristic of you to say that there needs to be alternate ways, even if, in the specific situation with Corona, everyone had to start production because it was a safety hazard, but because no one ever considered this would ever happen. So even you probably had to stop production. I don't know, but everything stopped. But if people for your thinking of let's have different ways so that in case of a disaster, we can fall back on one of the other ways, maybe this all so much financial loss could have been avoided.
Well, why did the big groups stop producing? Because it's cheaper for them to produce, not to produce. They have huge state aids in Switzerland. They put people on technical, whatever layoff, they call it technically in English. And so for them, it's just more efficient not to produce than to produce. And we had to produce because we had projects to come out with. We had sales to deliver. So for us, it was a big problem because, again, you have this system of production where the small subcontractors, we all work with. We work with them, but the big groups also work with these guys. Well, these small subcontractors, they say, yeah, I'm not going to keep my factory open just for you, Ressence. I can't live from Ressence alone. I need these big groups to work, to ask for pieces, for components. So if they stop, well, I stop. And so I couldn't supply. We have big problems in delivering our watches now. Not because we don't sell them, but because we just don't. We miss one part here, one part there. But yeah, you miss one part, you can't deliver the watch. So this is also this ecosystem that is completely intertwined. And if one stops, well, the whole thing falls apart. There is not really alternatives.
If everyone then, I guess, had your way of thinking with, the alternative way you make Ressence watches, then because everything is intertwined and you can't help but have to rely on other people. But then maybe there was more of this alternative thinking, then perhaps there would have been alternative methods to bypass the inability to get a certain part, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, yes, I believe that as I'm not Swiss, I see it from the outside. I see the things from Belgium. Okay, it's just I was born there. I can't. But I see it happening from outside, and I also see other industries from my previous activities. I've been an industrial designer, so I worked in many different fields of industries, and the way watch industry is structured and the way subcontractors are, let's say, dealing is a very unique way of doing things. There's no, I always say, if you couldn't survive in another industry than in the watch industry if you behave like that. If you treat your clients like that, well, you're out of business in 6 months. But it happens all the time in the watch industry because I don't know how it comes, but there is another way, another ethic, another way of doing business in watch industry that is, for me, amazing. But it's how it is, and I often thought, okay, should I not work with these companies? Yes, but then it's very complicated because it's a mixture of different crafts that you need, and if you start to say, okay, yeah, but the Japanese, they make also very good watches. Why should I not produce in Japan my parts? I don't care. Basically, my clients, Ressence clients, is it Swiss made? I think they don't care. For Ressence, I'm not speaking about other brands, but for Ressence, is it Swiss made? Yes. But we write on our watches made in Switzerland because they are fully made in Switzerland. But if I would have the possibilities to produce parts in Japan, I would produce in Japan. It's just very far away. The culture is so far away. Those small subcontractors in Japan, they don't even speak English. So it becomes really a big problem to do that. But I'm sure that their business ethics and mentality is a lot more straightforward than we sometimes have to suffer from in Switzerland. It's not always easy.
To the made in Switzerland thing, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, let me play you the next moment.
Should.
Ready, go.
Artificial intelligence will be the last creation of mankind, they say. After that, machines will take over.
So you're thinking maybe so.
And if you're talking about Apocalypse 2, I think that's the one.
That's the one. So it's not that the smartwatch displaces the mechanical watch, it's that the robots take over.
Google is the roots, sucking big data out of the internet, feeding artificial intelligence. We go there. This is the way we are moving. Artificial intelligence is big data management, basically. How do you cope with all this information, and how do you make something out of it with an algorithm?
So in light of Corona and our current climate, one could say that we have been taken over, but by an illness. So not machines, an illness. How do you see AI or artificial intelligence, or as you said, big data management, striking back to reclaim control in your hopefully hypothetical theory on this takeover?
Your question is very difficult. I'm not sure I have perfectly understood what you would like me to think about.
Like Google with its sucking out all the data and everything, but even Google was beaten. Like everything, AI, everything was beaten during Corona. This illness, this whether man-made or force majeure, whatever. It took over. It stopped everyone in its tracks. And so how do you see AI or big data management, you know, how do you see them trying to get control again, or getting their control again? Or do they just have to wait for it to be over, you know? And
I think this is a good question, but I believe that the problem, there's two different things, I would say. There is, because the Corona is a political choice very often. It's of course a sanitary thing, that's for sure. It's a virus. We have to make sure that we don't get ill, but it's a political decision to say we lock down countries, we lock down people, we lock up people, and we lock up businesses. This is a political, of course, driven by democracies, for sure, but it's a political choice to do that. It's not an easy one, but it is a choice that that governments have made to stop the spreading, whatever, all these things. In what way that is related to artificial intelligence? I'm sorry, my brain is not good enough. I don't know how to link those two. I'm sorry, but my apologies. I don't know what to say.
But it's fine. Maybe it'll come to me. Let me know once it comes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
We're not talking about, for most watches, we don't talk about timekeeping. We talk about feeling good you feel good about it.
And so you
Sell high heels.
Yeah.
You know, it's for men.
Okay, how do you think marketers should talk about timekeeping now in the context of this chaotic, morbid, depressing disaster of a pandemic we find ourselves in?
Mm-hmm. Well, the same way, I believe. Again, when I do the metaphor of high heels, the Louboutin of the man is a watch. Why do girls wear high heels? They feel stronger, they feel better, they feel more beautiful, whatever, they feel positiver, more positive. That's why a guy wears a watch very often. So even now in these gloomy times, having something that expresses positiveness, believe in the future. There is something we have as human beings, is that we are we are an optimistic species in the future, even though we talk a lot of misery, but we are genetically programmed to believe in the future. Otherwise we would jump out of windows all the time. So we are in a I believe that you know, the watch we did a competition during the I'm not sure you're aware of that. We did a competition during the COVID lockdown. I'll show you because I just got the pictures from the watch in. I need all my stuff. So we did a watch with that we asked people, our followers on Instagram. Let me share my screen. See the watch?
Yeah.
So we did a competition where we asked all our followers on Instagram and on social media, well, everyone basically, to design a watch, a Ressence watch. We said, okay, there are a few rules, but they were simple, as one part, one color, and etc. And so we had nearly 500 drawings come in, from going from children to professional designers. And in the end, I had to pick the winner. But okay, I thought it's a bit a dictature, so I thought, all right, let me pick a few, and then we'll ask again on social media to vote. And so this one came out. This watch came out. I'm very happy. That's the winner. Yeah. So this watch will go on auction in the 11th of July, so in a few days, in Hong Kong with Sotheby's. And the money, what we earned from that sales, will go to research against COVID. So the COVID-19 research laboratory here in the university here in Belgium.
So you chose to include people who were alone in their homes. You know, during that time, you chose to include them with you as this creative kind of process.
Yeah. And so we thought, okay, because we had designs that are very dark also, and we had on the opposite side, we had these type of designs, and I have to say it was like a 50-50, the type of designs we had. And so I personally chose to use an optimistic design, something that is fresh, that it looks forward, that looks to the future. And so, this is the one that, well, finally people chose out of 4. And so I'm very happy with it. And the watch really looks really, really nice. So it's to say that we are a species that is programmed to be optimistic and to look forward. It's not the first time that historically our society or a society has setbacks. In this case, we have chosen to do it this way, to lock down things, etc. There have been other threats, but yeah, the human species is always wants to look forward, and so the watch industry should, well, I believe, should also look at it that way, because it's a huge opportunity for watch industry to have these type of clients that are always positive, pre-programmed to be positive, and that's why I believe this watch is fitting, doing the job.
You know, I'd be also interested to see the dark designs of a Ressence, what they do for Ressence. That would, because I can't even imagine how do you design a watch in a dark way. So that's unless they're illustrations, you know, like.
Well, I can tell you, it was there were designs with many references to the virus, for example. They put viruses everywhere, and I'm not saying they were all very super high-end designs, but it was more the spirit of the time that we captured by having all these. It's was nearly statistically saying, okay, half the population is looking at it from a dark point of view, and half the population is looking at it from a positive point of view. It's in every crisis there are opportunities. In every we always try to make sure that we move on. We can move on to the next thing, and by looking at it from a negative standpoint, it's not always it's not the best way to move on. So
You decided to lead with positivity in Ressence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go on to the next.
Yep.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. The expression of the carcass, I use it very often. Yes, because if these larger corporations would not pump as much money in marketing, it would, of course, generate less envie, say that? Desire to watch watches, and mechanical watches in particular. So yes, I'm the little ant that comes after the wolves, the lions, the rats. Then that's me. Then after me comes bacteria. But, yes, this lion has to kill the prey first, because I can't run after it. I'm too small. So no, thank you, big brands, for doing that.
Okay, so 2 questions.
Yeah.
Do you see your point proven now? And second one is, do you see yourself as such, you know, before the bacteria, you know, after the rats, do you see yourself as such post-corona coming on the scene? Or has corona knocked around the natural prior order of things?
The is corona having any influence on that? I believe that the positive thing of corona is, and towards us as a small brand, is that people tend to go more to authentic things when in such a crisis, so I believe that Ressence as a brand and as a product brings more authenticity than, let's say, mass-produced, industrially produced products. So from that point of view, I think it's a positive thing for brands like Ressence that are not selling brands, but they're selling products. Today, and I hope it will change one day, but today people still buy Ressence for the product. They don't buy Ressence because they can show off with it, because nobody knows what the guy is wearing. So it's not cool to show off with something nobody knows about.
So cool to show off. What do you mean? The product is
well, many people. I would go back to the Louboutin example. Would you have high heels and it would not be red on the backside? I'm not sure it would work differently, because others will not recognize the fact that you are wearing that type of shoes. Yeah. Whereas
you can trust that your product is so interesting in itself. It's not the name Ressence. It could have been called, Daft Punk.
Yeah, whatever. It's true, but a crisis like this, people are at home. They have more time. They start to reflect. They are not maybe less influenced by the rat race they're in every day. And in those moments, I believe that you say, in the end, it's nice to be at home with my family. In the end, it feels good to be here. And you start to go more to the authentic things, be more open, because also the social influence of the people around you is less, because you don't see them so much. So you don't see any guys or other girls with Louboutins because you're at home. So where do you spend your money on then? So you have less this influence from the social pressure, the social whatever pressure, I would call it, yes. And so wearing brands is less something you are interested in, because you don't need to have a brand at that moment. You need to have a good product, I believe. And so that is so there's more authenticity at that point, I believe, or at least authenticity is a value that grows more than marketing values or something like that, because of the fact that we are locked up. We need less brands, I think. Well,
I get what you're saying. That's an excellent point. I didn't consider that now that we don't have any social pressure, we're faced alone with ourselves. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Benoît. That was the last one, actually. That was the last question.
Okay. Thanks a lot. And I'm sorry I couldn't really make a link between Corona and artificial intelligence.
Please think about it and then let me know.
Well, I only see a relation that is more like managing the information, but from Corona, and maybe try to predict a little better, but
I'm afraid of that big data management, Google sucking everything. Understanding your enemy makes you able to defeat them, you know? So that's what I want you to do.
You have Punkt in Germany. I don't know if you heard about it. Punkt. Yeah, it's a German, Punkt, like a point, but in German, written in German.
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch.
Ah, wow, gut.
Ja,
okay. Punkt ist ein deutscher Vertrieb. Nein, it's not good German. But they have a phone. It's not a smartphone. It does not allow all these data to be shared. They have a certain philosophy.
So it's like a smart burner phone.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Thank you so much, Benoît. I'll let you
You're
go.
welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. All the best.
Day. Have a good day.